I pushed the live button. Whoa. Oh, shit.
Are you dreading your next home repair? Don't. Crew Pros is your one-call solution for everything your home needs. Whether it's heating and air, plumbing, complete roof replacement, whole home generators, and electrical repairs. Our professionals get the job done right. Crew Pros is your single source for high-quality home services at affordable prices. For everything your home needs, Crew Pros. Remodel, repair, replace.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eyes no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
Grizz Nation, what is up? Welcome to another episode of Grizz 901. I am your guest host for the month of August, Brandon Nwokeji. I'd like to apologize for the late start that we had tonight. This is 2023, and we, of course, had some technical difficulties because we, of course, love how technology loves to not work for us at times, right? But we move and we keep on going. So I'd like to welcome you guys to Grizz 901. If you guys were expecting to see one of Daniel Greer or Nathan for this show tonight, I'm very sorry. And if you're disappointed, I'm also really sorry. How I got onto this show was Daniel and Nathan asked me to come on guest host for the month of August because their wives were quote unquote going to be very mad with them. They didn't take a break from the show if they didn't do that. So they called me on and they asked, hey, can you guest host for the month of August? And I said, I am absolutely happy to. I am a big fan of the show, big fan of everything that Daniel and Nathan do for Grizz 901. So was really happy to come on and guest host for the month of August. For those of you who don't know me, see me as this guy on the screen, I work for Bluff City Media right alongside Daniel and Nathan. I am a features writer. I am a contributor for the Memphis Grizzlies. I write feature articles for the Grizzlies. I also contribute. I go onto a ton of other podcasts here on the network. Also in the process of starting my own podcast. More details on that soon. But I love the Memphis Grizzlies. I am born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, although I live in Los Angeles right now at the moment, but Memphis is my home. That's where I was born and raised. And Bluff City Media is an incredible group. All of these guys there just really love this team, love everything that they're about. And so you guys didn't come here to listen to me, though. You came here to hear about the Memphis Grizzlies. And as your resident professor of Grizzology, entitled Thanks to Luke Hatmaker, our guest for the show tonight, we're going to be talking about the Grizzlies today. Let's get right to the show. Let's get right into things. So today, I wanted to switch things up a little bit, and I wanted to start this show by having a segment that I like to call State of the Grizzlies, right? So you've seen, of course, I believe, like the State of the Union addresses and all of those things. I want to give you guys a state of what I believe is the current state of how the Grizzlies are doing at this moment. So without further ado, we are going to bring on to here the State of the Grizzlies. Once my music starts playing. There we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gathered here today to discuss the Memphis Grizzlies, my fellow Memphis Grizzlies fans. How are the Grizzlies doing right now? So, of course, we're kind of in a dead period at the moment, right? Your favorite podcaster, your favorite media member is probably off vacationing somewhere or doing something else at this current time. And, we got training camp coming underway in about a few weeks, right? So we're in this dead period, right? Where we don't have a lot of basketball typically going on, right? Now we have the FIBA World Cup preparing to kick off in just a matter of days, actually. Our very own Jaren Jackson Jr. will be playing in. But right now, there's not really, a ton of NBA basketball going on, with the exception of training camp coming up in a few months. So what's the current state of the Grizzlies right now? And I think if you asked anybody, in this Grizzlies fan base, they'd tell you that the Grizzlies at this moment are entering this new phase, right? Credit to my guy, Grizz Company Main on Twitter. They're entering this next phase of what they want to be, right? And so we know, unfortunately, last year after that loss to the Lakers, now they're really kind of, and you heard Zach Kleiman and Taylor Jenkins in the exit interviews say, it was a mistake to triple down on youth. There are some things that we wanted to learn about the team this season and move forward with. And so now they're really taking the steps to build this championship contender and build this team that they want to be for the foreseeable future. This championship contender of sorts, right? And so the first move was trading for Marcus Smart from the Celtics and also signing the hometown hero in Derrick Rose. And so the Grizzlies are really forming that new identity for what they want to be for this next phase of championship contention. And I think what's changed now is they're no longer the media darlings, right? They're no longer that shiny, they're no longer this shiny object that the media wants to play with. And in many ways you consider that either a good thing or a really bad thing, right? But I think in this sense, the Grizzlies have come back to getting underrated. I was seeing the Bleacher Report kind of predictions for the best teams after the trade deadline, and the Grizzlies slotted in at number 10. It just kind of seems like right now the Grizzlies are that team that people around the NBA acknowledge as, being really good and being a really good team, but not quite that championship contender. And because of that, there's not really expectations on what people think or expect the Grizzlies to do next season, right? Are they going to make this huge championship push? What are these next 25 games going to be without Ja Morant? And I think with that comes an opportunity. I think it comes an opportunity for the Grizzlies to redefine who they are as a franchise and really have guys step up. We know who's going to step up, right? It's going to be, for one, Jaren Jackson Jr., who just signed, who is going to play for FIBA in a matter of a few days, has really elevated himself as one of the leaders of this team, one of the primary leaders on this team. Because with Dylan Brooks' departure, he is now the longest tenured Grizzly on the team, which is crazy to think about, right? This guy that they just drafted in 2018 is now the longest tenured Grizzly. And with that, he's taken that responsibility of really being more vocal, being more active in terms of a member on the team. And then we also have Desmond Bane coming in, who is just fresh off signing a max contract this past offseason, which elicited many reactions from the NBA Twitterverse, many of which negative, many of which positive. I think you could kind of tell people who didn't watch Desmond Bane from those reactions that you saw on Twitter regarding his contract. But I think without Ja Morant, without the superstar, the Grizzlies have a chance to really redefine who they are and who they want to be, because for the first time in a long time, the spotlight isn't really going to be on them, right? It's going to be on Jaren Jackson, on Desmond Bane, on Marcus Smart, on the new guys, on the wings that are coming into the team. And so the state of the Grizzlies right now is really one of moving into that new direction of what they want this team to be. And I think in a lot of ways, this is kind of that in-between space that you see these young teams as they move into perennial championship contenders become, right? Because the Grizzlies are no longer just an exciting young team. They're not a young core at this point anymore. They're not really that team that you think of when you think of the Orlando Magics and the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunders of the world. The Grizzlies are now a fully fledged championship contender that's trying to make that next move into hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy and bringing it to Beale Street and having a parade in our city. Yeah. So what I mean to say is that this is really a period of redefinition for the Grizzlies, because in a lot of ways, we don't really know what to expect out of the Grizzlies this season. We know that they're going to consistently be very great on defense because they have the reigning DPOY and Jaren Jackson Jr. We know that their three-point shooting is going to take leaps because Luke Kennard will now have a full offseason with the team. We know that Desmond Bane is going to be expected to step up as a scorer, as a shooter, as a playmaker in all aspects for this team without John Morant. But I think right now the Grizzlies are really entering the space of defining who they want to be. And we know that at the forefront of that is going to be defense. That's why they got Marcus Smart. That's why Jaren Jackson Jr. is expected to take that leap. They want to continue being this gritty, tough team, but they also said, okay, we're going to scale back the talking a little bit. We're going to scale back the celebrations a little bit. But I also don't think they're going to lose that edge in a nutshell. But the state of the Grizzlies, as a Grizzlies fan, is one to be very excited about, because they're really becoming, as a team, more mature. They're no longer these cubs, but they're really growing into these full-blown adult Grizzly Bears. And because of that, this team is going to, in my view, shock the NBA this season and really be a team to be reckoned with for the course of the season. And that is the state of the Memphis Grizzlies. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. All right. So today we have a really fun show for you today. Like I said, I'll be here the entire month of August, just talking about this team. So I have brought on some very special guests from both Bluff City Media and abroad to talk about the current state of the Grizzlies and what we can kind of expect from this team moving forward. My first guest, who is not quite entered here yet, I'm going to kind of see where he is at here. But Mr. Luke Hatmaker is going to be coming on, talking on the show with me today, just about what we can expect from not only Jaren coming in with FIBA, but also Taylor Jenkins, and what we kind of expect for him coming into this next phase of the Grizzlies. And so talking about that kind of first times about the Grizzlies, right? And about what we're kind of expecting from them this season, I think for one, it's going to be about, how do you readjust without one of the best point guards in the game, right? How do you readjust without having one of the best players that this team has ever seen? And that's really going to be something that the Grizzlies are going to figure out this season, right? Because we know from last year, right? Ja got suspended. He missed those games during the season, and there's still kind of the question about who really runs the show for the Grizzlies when Ja isn't here and when Ja isn't playing. And so when you kind of come through and think about that, I think the opportunity that the Grizzlies are presented with is truly a great one, because they're going to be coming into this idea of how do we really form together as a team. And I can see here, my guest has now come into the lobby, and he is coming here to talk with us today. He is a man that needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one because he is a phenomenal individual. And also has like a really cool last name, by the way. But Mr. Luke Hatmaker is a features writer at the Memphis Grizzlies. He has put out some amazing pieces over the course of his time on the Grizzlies. Has already written a ton about the MLE, about the front court rotation, but even more coming out for the Grizzlies and in future days, future weeks here. He is also the co-host of the No Bluffin' Pod, hosted by him and Chris and Miss Nicole, two also great individuals here, so you can catch him on that here. But without further ado, joining us tonight is Mr. Luke Hatmaker. Mr. Luke, welcome to the show.
What's up, brother? That's the nicest thing, I think. That's in the top 5 nicest things people have said to me. That was real. And this is par for the course. Like my life in a nutshell is the fact that I was just sitting in the wrong lobby for like 20 minutes, just wondering what was going on. That is my life in a nutshell. I was just sitting there watching the stream on YouTube. I was like, yeah, man, he's killing it. What's going on? I don't like it for 20 minutes, And
Dude.
that's just me. That's me in a nutshell.
Dude, can I tell you like what's kind of like been happening today? Like, so like my mic, my technology working perfectly fine. And then like right before broadcast, like we were having some issues, right? Like this stuff just happens to you, like because, right?
Yeah, you know. It was the day was going well, and then the universe was like, no.
Yeah. I gotta drop a bombshell on you, right?
Dude, I could have watched you talk for like another 20 minutes. You were killing it. I was enthralled, and you were flanked by them. I was just like, yeah, this is great.
Dude, Luke, you are too kind. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Luke,
thank you for having me, dude.
Dude, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming on. Let me get some thoughts, Luke. Give me what is your state of the union? What do you think? What are your current thoughts on how the Memphis Grizzlies are doing right now? How they're looking coming into the season? Well, give me your take on things.
Man, hearing you describe it, the first word that came to my mind was transition. Like they're in a team that is transitioning to a contender, and I think they're one piece away. And I don't think it's a big piece. Okay. I think it's a small piece. I don't know who it is. It might be someone already on the roster stepping up. I don't know, but I think this team is so close. So close. I think they've got everything that they need. I think if I have to hear someone else just down Marcus Smart for no reason other than him being a season older, I'm going to poop my pants. And it makes me so mad because it's like, yeah, he's older. I don't think his game got that much. I don't know. I think we're going to have an incredible starting five. I think we're going to have the sixth man of the year. I just think we're going to be, if we don't win it, no. I'm a homer. I got to shut up. I just think we're transitioning. We're in the transitioning into a period of adults. It's time to play adult basketball, and it's time to act like adults. And the team is doing a really good job of that so far. I'm more impressed by Jaren every single day. I agree. It's just, and I want to be his best friend. I know that's weird, but he just seems super cool. It's weird. I don't know.
Dude, I think the maturity that I referenced when I started the show, the maturity that you've seen from Jaren coming from his rookie year into this season has just been astronomical, right? Because you have to think, right? When some guys just kind of they're put in positions to be leaders, right? Like Ja Morant at Murray State, he was the guy from pretty much day one, if not his freshman year, definitely his sophomore year, where he really shocked the nation, right? Jaren Jackson Jr., he wasn't really that, like, throughout his tenure at Michigan State, right? He was one and done. He was very talented player, but playing with other talented players such as Xavier Tillman, Miles Bridges, right? He was never really that number one alpha dog, right? And so you kind of seen his trajectory coming onto the Grizzlies, kind of growing ever since draft night, and kind of taking kind of this upward, this absolutely upward path, because it's crazy to think, right? Jaren is the longest tenured member of the team at this point.
You said that, and I was like, what? I was like, but what about no. And then I started thinking, I was like, shoot, like, and then who is it? Is it X or BC or Jitty? I mean, either way, it's weird. It's weird that Jaren's been here the longest. And it's kind of unfair to him that us getting Ja Morant kind of overshadowed his development, or not even development, but like, because Grizzlies fans have been on him since the beginning. But I feel like the national attention is the spotlight's now finally getting on him. I think. I think he's just seems so ready for it, man. That's what's a lot of these dudes aren't ready for it. I mean, like, at their age, I wouldn't be ready for it. Like, I was drinking too much and waking up in weird places when I was that age. Like, there's no way that, like, I couldn't handle my stuff. And doesn't he live by himself and his mom lives close or something? Mm-hmm. That's so cool. God. Yeah. I love him.
Dude,
if you're listening, I love you, Trip.
I've been on record just saying that I think this is the year Jaren Jackson Jr. just puts it all together in terms of all NBA.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we know he's one of the best defenders in this league. We know he's historically one of the best shot blockers to ever play this game. But then we saw last year, right? It was around January, February that offensive domination switch just turned on, just like a light, like he fully like formed and realized just the walking mismatch that he was on the court, and near every single possession was just going mayday to the rim and just either shot free throws because he can't be stopped. There's not many players in this league who can stop Jaren Jackson Jr.
It's like after the trade deadline, someone must have sat him down and was like, "You do realize you're the biggest SOB out there, right? Like you don't have to. You just go out there and dominate. You know that, right?" And then he did. Like it wasn't until he came up against AD, who is maybe one of the few players that I would rank maybe at higher than him at his position. It took that to stifle him. And that's saying a lot about him, because you're right. Like his offense is just going to get better this year. Like you've been on it like early, like as soon as the season ended, you were just like, all right, this is the year. And so I was like, wow, y'all ready? Okay. All right. And you're right. Like these videos of him working out and what he's working on specifically, it's really nice.
Mid-range shots, man. Mid-range shots. Like
it's what we need.
Dude, I think okay, and I'm not going in here saying like Jaren's gonna, shoot 20 mid-range shots a game, right? But I think we're going to see a shot diet change, right? I think we're going to see just his offensive creation change. I think we're going to see him as a player, right? But especially on the offensive end, just really realize on how much of a threat he can be, not just like getting the ball, driving to the basket, but okay, I can actually make space for myself, get shots off away from the paint. Like I think the offensive shot diet and that offensive domination is going to kind of shift into the sense of, okay, he realizes I can use my body and realize that I have this physical advantage, but I can use that to leverage that to get even more high percentage shots, whether that be around the rim, outside the rim, more feet around the rim.
And he got bigger. He just keeps getting bigger. And that's, you just said it, like his size advantage is just super, he knows how to use it now. And if he keeps getting bigger, it's like, good luck. I mean, he's just huge. Like he's scary big now. I want to become a professional wrestler when this is all over. I think he'd be great at it. Personally.
Get some tips from Jerry Lawler, right? Like he's,
yes.
He's right in his
the
backyard.
King, man. Yeah.
Tips from the king, man. But it gives me a great segue because first topic of the day is FIBA basketball, right? We know we're in this dead period of basketball right now, like that inevitable like month of August where like typically nothing happens in the basketball world as like they're preparing for training camp. The story is more like the NFL and everything happening there,
I normally
right?
always watch Get Up in the mornings, and it's been so football heavy. It's like, and I can only handle so much of that. So I've been watching like Charmed just because that's where I'm at. I'm just like, basketball's not on. Yeah. It's weird.
I need basketball content, right? Yep. But luckily we've got the FIBA World Cup starting off next week. I think they play their first like exhibition match against Puerto Rico. And it's front and center will be Jaren Jackson Jr. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about really what we're expecting out of Jaren, like what this opportunity means for him, what it means for the Grizzlies, what it means for Jaren Jackson, right? Because for one, it's just great. It's great that a player like Jaren Jackson Jr. and his talent gets recognized by one of the greatest coaches in the game, and Steve Kerr, right? Aside from a very like erroneous remark he made about Dylan Brooks breaking the code and yada, 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 like Steve Kerr is one of the best offensive minds of basketball, right? So it's something really, it's a great satisfying feeling to know that, okay, like he sees Jaren Jackson Jr.'s talent. He's always spoken very highly of him. He recruited both Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane onto the team. Desmond Bane, of course, with the toe injury, and also might be playing for Team Nigeria. I've heard in certain spaces is a different kind of thing. Yeah, right.
Man, I don't understand it because Kyle Anderson's playing for China too, right?
For China, right? Yeah. I'll never understand the whole how that whole like nationality, how that whole like citizenship nationality thing aspect.
I'm
works.
playing for New Zealand. You didn't know? I'm the starting 2 guard for New Zealand.
Starting 2 guard. Yeah. But I think this is just a huge opportunity. And then for one, this is also coinciding with a fully healthy off season for Jaren Jackson Jr., which we have not seen which we haven't seen in a while. Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know numerically like the last off season that he had, but this
was it the bubble? I mean, it would have been around the bubble, right?
Yeah.
Or no, he had surgery after the bubble. No,
wait. Yeah, he had the meniscus. Yeah. Not sure, but
been a long time.
Been a long time, right? And so that's really my point in saying, like, I think just the combination of all of these things is going to lead to us seeing a different kind of Jaren Jackson Jr. on the court, and it's going to really, I think, like the climax of it is going to be this FIBA basketball tournament. But what are your thoughts about that?
Man, so you and I were talking about this. You look at who the U.S. is bringing, and there is one center on the roster. And granted, that center's really good. I love Kessler. Like, that's a good center. But Steve Kerr's, he's smart. You said it. Like, I want Jaren to play the 5 so bad, and I think it's the inevitable. Like, that's where they're thinking of him going on the main roster. I think, like, I just think that's where it's going for him, and I think that's where he should be playing. Yeah. And if Kerr's smart, like, there's nobody else on the roster. I don't think they brought anybody. They've got Jaren, and they've got no, they don't have anybody. Nope. It's got to be Jaren.
Yeah, I mean, because I think like the front, like the depth after the fact is Bobby Portis, who another great player, champion in this league, guy who knows his role, guy who
dope glasses. I love his glasses.
Dope glasses, right?
Dope glasses.
Was like the owner of all of those memes during his finals run.
Yeah, he's a great player. Like, it's exactly the guy you want on your team. But I don't know if he's a starting center.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to start at center.
No.
And then got Paulo Banchero, another very talented player. You're not going to start him at center.
No.
Like, you're definitely
no, they're not. No, Kerr's not going to do that. Like, based on the comments Kerr makes, he almost goes out of his way to compliment Jaren. Like, I just think that I think Kerr's salivating to have Jaren at the 5. I think.
Oh, I agree. And you think of it in the sense of, right, like, I think it's going to be great for Jaren to just get another coach's perspective that he's closely working with, right? Like, so somebody can just tell you, like, okay, shoulder this guy this way. Okay. If you're trying to if you're trying to cut to the basket, like, cut this way, make these movements and you'll be even more efficient. Right. Because we know Taylor Jenkins is an excellent coach. Right. But sometimes it's just like he's
never played,
like, never played, like one-on-one with one of the like greatest coaches in the game right now. Like, that'll do wonders for Jaren's game. And
someone who's played with a lot of good players and who's coached a lot of good players.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you also think about, the 3-point shooting, Steve Kerr being like objectively one of the best 3-point shooters to ever play. He can teach Jaren a lot about on-ball creation from the perimeter and how to be an even greater threat there. So I just think the opportunities are absolutely endless for what Jaren can do with this FIBA tournament. And can we also mention, like, these FIBA rules were made for nobody other than Jaren Walter Jackson Jr.
I just want them to play FIBA all year, like, just so Jaren can play. I want them to release it as a game where I can play as Jaren. I just think that would be so fun because it's, you start reading the rules and you're like, is this a joke? This just feels like, did Jaren write this? Jaren wrote this, didn't he? That's what it feels like, because it feels like someone just let him write how to play basketball.
Dude, like, he might average 10 blocks. Like he actually might average 10 blocks.
Dude, like, it's gonna be game over. I was looking at all these other teams. I don't think anybody. The Canadian team, I'm pretty excited about, which is weird to say. But that's it. Like, I think the rotations that he can use with Jaren at the 5, like, there's some really cool combos that he can lineup combinations he can throw out there, and I think that there's enough versatility out of this team, this roster, that it's going to be hard for other teams to really answer it.
No, I really agree. I remember when they first released the FIBA roster, right? I think like everyone's first reaction is like, man, the US might not medal. Like the US like might be out like day 2 or something. And I'm like what? Like,
do you guys
like,
watch American basketball?
It's just like, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like you have some of the best, like you have some of the best individual just on-ball creators in the game, and Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson. You have guys who can who are great connectors, especially Tyrese Halliburton.
BI.
You got BI, like you guys have guys who can create very well. You have guys who can score all over the floor. You also have some very great two-way wing defenders in Mikal Bridges, in Cam Johnson. Like this FIBA group, right? It's very young, right? I think that's the number one knock, right? It's very young, and because of all of the old-time vets, for whatever reason, don't play FIBA, but it's still a roster chock full of talent. Like top to bottom, like these.
No other team has upside that can beat this. Like in terms of upside, this team is nothing.
No, I mean that mix of just pure athleticism and scoring talent and defense, I think is just going to overwhelm. Like I
shout out to Anthony Sane
not meddling. Yeah,
Anthony Sane. Shout out to Anthony Sane. He said he talked about Kessler and Jaren playing the 5 and the 4. How are you scoring against that?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Just roll the ball the other way. It's not getting in. Hate it.
And speaking of Kessler and Jaren as the front court, let's talk about the starting lineup. I know you released that poll earlier this week about your thoughts on the starting lineup. What do you think that opening day for the men's national team FIBA World Cup starting lineup is going to be?
I'm going to flip flop on you because I had time to sit with your so I'll be okay. I'll go. I originally had Brunson, Ingram, Triple J, BI. Wait, is that everybody? And Anthony Edwards and Ant.
Okay.
But I have not been able to stop thinking about Tyrese Halliburton since that's who you said. And then I started thinking about, I love the Pacers, I think, which is weird. I think they might, I don't know. I really like that roster. And I've been fixating on Halliburton. And I think that's in terms of connection, because you were just saying that, like, I think he's better at it than Brunson.
Okay. Yeah.
After I've sat with it for a couple days, I've just kind of,
you need that just like primary connector on the floor and any kind of like competition like this. You need that primary connector on the floor who can find guys in their spots, just quickly initiate the offense, run that play to get that guy the open shot. And that's what Tyrese Halliburton does best as one of the best pure passers in this league. And so I think you just have to start him at point guard. Like that's just like, you just have to do that. Because he's like the best on the roster at that, right? But then you move into the 2, right? So just for reference, I'd start Tyrese Halliburton at the 1. I'd start Anthony Edwards at the 2 because he gives you that mix of just pure strength, athleticism.
If Kerr starts anybody other than Ant at the 2, Ant it's just like he's on this team to play the starting 2. It's like, come on.
I agree. I think you just need that. You need that athletic punch in your guard, in your like guard wing rotation, and that's what Anthony Edwards gives you. And then I go Mikal Bridges, right? Like I think he is one of the best two-way players in the game. Just coming off an all defensive team. We saw what he just did with the Brooklyn Nets. We know we saw not only the defense, but also just like the scoring upside that he showed. He was creating shots like none other. He's another person due for a great season next year, but he has to start on this team just because he's also one of the more just stemming back from his collegiate days, playing at Villanova, right? Like he's a winner. He's a champion. Like he's a guy that you want on this roster for those moments when you needed guys who have been in these like tight close game situations, especially in these like medal games and things like that. You need those guys who are familiar with making plays, who just kind of know the flow, right? Mikal Bridges is that guy. right?
Man, I feel like people are undervaluing the winners on this team. Like, yeah, they're young, but they've won a lot. Like, I don't know. I think that's getting lost in the shuffle. I don't know. Because that's a good point. Like, some of these guys, when they were playing in college, you know, they're no slouches. Like, those were games. Like, there are a lot of people watch the NCAA. Like, there's a lot of people that watch college basketball.
Yeah. Another guy, Jalen Brunson, right? Championship, college championship player, right? Like you said, I feel like guys are really undervaluing just because these guys are younger, right? They're undervaluing that these guys have been in a lot of these situations. A lot of these guys are winners. They've won at the highest level. Like, this is going to be a really great team that I think people are really just discounting for whatever reason, right?
There's a lot of maturity there too. Like, for their age, there's not really any showboating on this roster. You know, like I don't know.
Yeah.
The closest thing I would say would be Anthony Edwards talking about eating chicken fries. And you know what? Let him, because I love chicken fries too, and they're delicious. So, like, give the man a break. Like, that's the only guy that has any, like, this is a solid group of pretty outstanding dudes, which is nice to see. Which you should know Kerr would do that. You know, like, Kerr seems like a pretty moral dude, upstanding guy.
Dude, I agree. And then we got Cruising with Chris in the chat. He finishes it off for me. Jaron Kessler at the 4 and the 5. I think the versatility top to bottom of Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Mikal Bridges, Jaren Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler. Like, for one, who's going to score on that team?
Nobody.
Like, who's going to score on that team? And then the offensive options that you have between those 5 guys, because of that, right? You can put Jaren on the perimeter. You can have him make things shake from there. You can run some pick and roll. Like, I just think the versatility that you have with that lineup is going to be great. And then off the bench, you still have some just quick offensive creators in Jalen Brunson, in Brandon Ingram, and Paulo Banchero. Josh Hart, right? Like, I think this team is going to shock a lot of people. And it's going to start with Jaren Jackson Jr. too. I think this is, like I said, all NBA season for Jaren Jackson Jr. And we're really going to see why in this FIBA tournament. I fully believe he'll be one of the best players on that floor. And like we talked about, this game is just made for him. Like, this guy the ball can be like on the cylinder. He can just swat that thing away, man. He's got to be so excited about
shit out of here. That's do that after
he's got to be licking his chops, just like at the thought of, like, just how much more open this game is for him.
I hope he talks smack to these other countries too. I hope he gets chippy.
Yeah, I agree. I'd really love to see, like, a fiery Jaren. Just, you know.
Have you looked at the Canadian roster? That team's going to be tough. Like,
yeah, I agree.
They've got Jamal Murray. They've got SGA. They got, who else they got? They got, I guess, Dylan Brooks. I'm wearing his jersey. I should shut up. Lou Dort. Dwight Powell. Kelly Olynyk. Who doesn't like Kelly Olynyk?
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty formidable. I think the USA team, of course, has its work cut out for them. Like, I think basketball, with basketball becoming a much more global game, just in general, a lot of teams have gotten better. And shout out Santi Aldama, who will be repping his home country of Spain too. I am just eagerly awaiting that Santi Aldama, Jaren Jackson Jr.
Dude,
that's gonna be special, you know, just to watch.
I feel bad that we didn't say Austin Reeves' name, but I kind of forgot he was on there.
I too kind of forgot he was on that team, but he's also just someone who's going to be, you know, an option off the bench. You can get you buckets, can handle the rock, can
be a pretty good six man,
can play make. Yeah, very good 6-man. And so I think you have options there. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited to see Jaren Jackson in the FIBA tournament. For just basketball sickos like me, it's going to be great to just get some basketball, any kind of basketball action. To
get I was going to say earthly, global basketball. Like, we don't get to see that often here. It's harder to find the games. Like, I'm just excited it'll be on TV. Like, we'll be able to get it pretty easily. It's just going to be exciting.
I agree. No, totally agree. That was Grizz with FIBA. Want to take this time to call out our presenting sponsor, who is Zach Jaworski, State Farm, where they
Jack
treat
Jaworski. That's
like,
funny.
where they treat you like family. Thank you for being a proud sponsor of the Grizz 901 podcast. And so, Luke, next up, I want to talk about Coach Taylor Jenkins. This and a lot, we talk about transition, right? We talk about the guys, we talk about just players stepping up into new roles. We talk about the roster, the new look of this roster. I think coaching is all just as much as players. Coaching is a huge part of that. And I'm sure you saw on the airwaves this week, there's a podcast I believe is hosted by Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, and they had Ty Lue. All this, is it All the Smoke?
All the Smoke. All the Smoke.
All the Smoke. All the Smoke. Yeah, All the Smoke. And they had that's Ron Lue, coach of the LA Clippers, championship coach, awesome coach in this league. Of course, they asked him, who are your top 3 in-game adjusters? Top 3 coaches at making in-game adjustments in the NBA. And he mentioned Eric Spoelstra. He mentioned Steve Kerr, right? I want to say it was Steve Kerr. I'm not sure.
I think so.
I think. It's either Kerr. Yeah. I want to say it was Steve Kerr. But either way, third guy that he mentioned was good old Coach Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies. And that, I'll admit, that was I was pretty shocked to hear that. I was too. That was genuinely like pretty shocking to hear. And I'm not saying Taylor Jenkins is a bad coach or anything. He is a phenomenal coach. I just learned today, actually, shout out Prowl Towel Central. Taylor Jenkins is actually the longest tenured coach in the NBA without a championship. That's never won a championship.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Which is crazy to think, right? But also just a testament.
I wouldn't have had him in the top 3 though. Like I would have asked Lou if he broke. I'd have been like, "Are you broken, buddy? Do you need to are you okay?"
Okay. So when you talk about Taylor Jenkins and just kind of the work that he's done with this roster, for one, I mean he's done a phenomenal job. I think especially on the defensive end, he is excellent at making adjustments. I point to the Lakers series when he made a really critical adjustment. He switched Dylan Brooks. Initially, Dylan Brooks was a primary defender on LeBron. Then he switched that to Xavier Tillman. That proved to be just an awesome defensive adjustment. Xavier Tillman had LeBron James in actual jail during that series for most of that series. Right. I also thought he did a really good job of just kind of having Jaren that gave Jaren more space to just kind of rotate and adjust in the front court with AD, even though he had his battles, right? He still had his fair share of battles and disappointments. But with Taylor Jenkins at the helm, the Grizzlies have consistently been like a top 10, like top 5, top 10 defense in this league too. The perimeter defense, right? Like that's still a question, right? That's still something that is still pretty iffy at this point. But so I think defensively, Taylor Jenkins is an stupendous adjuster. It's just, for me, it's offense, right? Like I understand what there's personnel restrictions. Like for one, can we acknowledge that Taylor Jenkins he's been dealt a pretty bad hand, especially when it comes to
having Dylan Brooks on your team.
Having Dylan Brooks on your team, like that's one. No, I agree.
I'm allowed.
That's absolutely one. Having Dylan Brooks on your team, you also have to think about Ja Morant hasn't had a fully healthy playoffs ever since like the Jazz series, right? Back in 20, like he hasn't had it, right? Warrior series, he got hurt in the second round, and then in this past playoffs, right? He had the hand injury that he first got in the Bucks game, but then he just kind of re-injured in that collision with Anthony Davis. So, and then of course we got to add Steven Adams and the knee stuff, and Brandon
Clark, who I think is still out with the same knee injury. I think they haven't updated us yet. I'm bitter about that. I'm sorry. Weird
situation all around. I don't know. I mean, all accounts from the front office are like he'll be ready to go opening night. Like he'll be ready. But
he looks incredible.
I don't.
That sure of him.
He looks great.
God.
He looks great. You see him like partying on these like different islands. He looks fine. Like the knee looks.
I want
fine.
his life.
So,
I want his life.
I absolutely want Aquamane's life, bro.
Aquaman.
Like it's got to be a stellar life. But I mean, Taylor Jenkins has been dealt a pretty bad hand when it comes to the playoffs. Like we have to acknowledge that, right? Like you need talent to win. The playoffs have generally been like a war of attrition. The healthiest team wins, right? And Taylor Jenkins hasn't had healthy teams. That being said,
he's also not had a good Dylan Brooks since that Jazz series either. That was the last series that Dylan shot the hell out of the ball.
I agree. I was so hopeful that Jazz Dylan Brooks would return in that first round, but
nope.
All things aren't meant to be. But that being
Dylan
said,
Brooks is dead.
That Dylan Brooks is dead. The ghost of which is now in Houston. Like
R.I.P.
I'm rooting for him. But I mean, all these things being said, with the injuries and with the roster limitations, right? The Grizzlies still struggle. They still struggle to score pretty consistently in the half court. The 3-point shooting, aside from Desmond Main and Luke Kennard, is still, getting guys good looks, getting guys open shots in this offense, still something that, hasn't really, is still kind of slow to develop.
Free throws, horrendous.
Free throws,
horrendous.
Free throws, horrendous. Like, I mean, just in terms of like his in-game kind of like rotation management, he has this thing where he tends to take out guys that are like going on heaters, like Jaren. I can count like multiple games. Jaren Jackson Jr. was just dominating, had double-digit points in like 4 minutes or something. But Taylor Jenkins, he's just and his calculator click, as some on Twitter like to call him, it's just like, okay, shut him down. He's got a strict minute management. Like, so like when you talk about that, right? And I'm gonna toss this over to you in a sec, right? Mm-hmm. What do you want to see from Taylor Jenkins this season? What growth do we want to see? What do we kind of want to see that Taylor Jenkins, has changed as a coach? Because we have to consider, right? We got faces leaving. I'm gonna hopefully I don't mispronounce this. Darko Rajakovic.
That's better than I was gonna say.
Yeah, but he was key in the development of a lot of these players here. But we got some guys coming on too. Patrick St. Andrews and Anthony Carter. Blanking for a sec. But what do we want to see out of Taylor Jenkins this season to really kind of, I guess kind of comfort your mind that he's the guy to really take this Grizzlies team to a championship eventually? So
I'm just going to sound so silly. I'm going to need him to be a good listener, because he's going to have to listen to he's going to have to listen to these guys, because I don't want to change anything that he's doing, because here, like, and it makes sense. Like, he's an economics guy. He's a numbers guy. Like, he's going to be good at adjusting. He's going to be good at analyzing problems and finding a solution. That makes sense. But he's not going to be the dog that tells Dylan, hey, stop shooting your 19th three, please. We need to let him listen to the guy that's going to do that. I feel like that guy has to be someone that's played before. I think that it's going to be tough. And I know these guys respect Taylor, but I think that respecting their coach and listening to someone who's hooped before is very different. And I think that Carter was brought in to be that, other than the development guy, he's going to be that player that has been there, who's been around the league and who the league likes, who they'll listen to. Or maybe that's going to be Marcus Smart, but Taylor's just going to have to listen. He's going to have to listen to these voices around him and just don't be stubborn. He can be stubborn. Like, don't be a Budenholzer. It got him fired, don't do that, because we like you here. But if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to go make these dudes go shoot free throws until they make 40 in a row because they are the dead last in the league the entire season, but you got to be tough on these guys sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the backbone, right, is something that I'd like to see more of from Taylor Jenkins. And I'm not saying he needs to be this no Mr. Nice Guy, like, just like strict dude, because like, you don't, there's a balance to everything. Right. But I go specifically to that Lakers series. Right. And Dylan Brooks just consistently just shooting tornadoes game after game after game. And you just saw Taylor Jenkins do what? Like
Nothing.
Like nothing. Didn't sit him down, didn't bench him, didn't have an outburst and tell him stop shooing these shots,
it's
stop
like,
hurting.
Oh, he's not listening? Bench his ass. If he's not listening, you bench him. Like bench him.
Bench him. It's just that vocal criticism, right? That you need a coach to have when you want a player to play a certain way. I think it's just something that's been slower for Jenkins to adjust, and that's why I love the Anthony Carter signing, because it's going to be just Anthony Carter has played in 7 playoff series over his NBA career. He had a NBA career spanning double digits. That sounds so nice. Music to my ears, right? The Grizzlies just needed somebody who's been in those shoes, been in this situation before, knows how it's handled. That can really be that guy to give Taylor Jenkins a different perspective. And so I'm going to be really interested in seeing just how that develops, because that's something that the Grizzlies have been lacking for a while. Just that different perspective as someone who's played in this league, and it's gonna be really fascinating to watch.
Like, I don't even expect to be the 2 seed again. We can be a 3 seed or a 4 seed. I just want to see him show growth. Like I don't think if we're the 4 seed and we have another first round exit, then I'll start questioning some stuff. But like, I want to, if he shows growth, we can, as long as we're not in the play-in, I'll be fine. Like, we don't need to repeat this 2 seed. We don't need to be the 1 seed. The West is going to be hard again. Like, I just need to see him just show a little bit of growth, little baby growth, a little bit.
Yeah,
because I like him. He's cool.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's clearly the players love him.
Yes.
Ja, Jaren, Bane, like those are the guys that you want to have happy at the end of the day, right? And they constantly rave about him in their interviews and everything, right? So that's what matters at the end of the day. But you want to see that translate consistently on the court, right? And while he's been lacking in some areas, I also believe coaches can improve, right? Like I am not on this train of fire Taylor Jenkins. I'm not on this train of, can him, just because like consistency is a really hard thing to achieve in this league. The best finish 2 back-to-back seasons, finishing number 2 in the West, like that counts for something.
That's hard to do.
That's hard to do. That's really like, have you seen the West? Injuries aside, like the West is loaded. The Western Conference is stacked. I think during the regular season, he has exceeded expectations, knocked them out of the park. I think it's just really the in-game adjustments, especially in the postseason. And, hopefully we see that success this season. If the Grizzlies are out in the first round, I think he'll still be given another season.
One more.
I think they'll give him one more. Kleiman always talks really highly of him, just as professional. And like I said, the players clearly like him. They like the culture that he's created. So I think he gets another season, but I think improvement is really, you heard it in the exit interviews, like the key for next season is improvement in this kind of like stage of transition for the Grizzlies.
Yeah. And this, it's like you were saying, it doesn't even have to be, we're not talking about improvement in the standing. It's not talking about improvement in wins, just talking about improvement in your coaching in-game styles and in the postseason specifically, because having a guy that's been there and played there is really, 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 really important. Like he's got a coaching 3 years in a row and getting bounced is cool and all, but like he's been there, like he's got to listen to your elders. Because TJ, I think is my age. I think we're the same age, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, dude. And he's young guy, really young guy.
He's like 33, 32.
Yeah, one of the youngest coaches to do it. So that's why I believe, right? Like he has room to grow as a coach.
That's a good point.
Like the book on Taylor Jenkins has not been written because he is so young and still actively developing as a coach, as a game manager, in the way that he evaluates the game. So like, I believe coaches can improve, and Taylor Jenkins is really no exception in that regard.
He just can't be like Bud. I know Bud was where he came from, and Bud is he's like a cautionary tale, man, of what not to do. You keep going and you keep going and you keep going. Yeah, but you don't change.
Yeah, I think adjustments will be the key, and we'll see how that happens. But talking about adjustments, talking about the decisions the coach has to make. Moving to our final segment of the show tonight, going to be a rapid fire section, but let's talk about the starting five, right? Because we more or less know what the Grizzlies starting five will look like on tip-off, at least the first four, right? We know Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams, most likely, right? The knee, we hope the knee, we hope and pray the knee is, fully fixed to just
stem cell it up, buddy.
Stem cell it up. All right. Like, we know what the starting four is going to look like. It's really just the fifth guy. That's just like, we have this kind of like, for all my Mad Max fans out there, it's like, three men enter, one man leaves. Zaire and Roddy and Laravia, like, or it's most likely going to be one of those guys, right? I did see the Bleacher Report article that said, John Conchar. I don't know about
it's
that.
Most asinine thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Can I introduce you to any other player on the roster, please? Like, sorry, I love Jitty, but
no, I mean I love Jitty, and I love what he brings to this team. I love you can put him in like Jitty's he's gonna hustle for that loose ball. He's gonna give you that energy. On the defensive end, like he stays in front of his man pretty well. He makes those.
He's gonna snag some boards and get some steals.
Snag some boards, get steals. He makes like the John Hollingers of the like those analytics minded guys of the basketball world, like just kind of like nut their pants, because like every kind of like every analytical measure you can think of has him as like a plus dude in the game of basketball. But
that's what they watch instead of OnlyFans. They watch like Conchar.
They watch Conchar highlights, right? Yeah, they watch Conchar clips. But after the shooting fell off a cliff last season, then I don't, unless he can get to a point where he can get back to that where he was shooting like close to 40%. I just can't see it.
No, he doesn't bring enough to the table. Doesn't do enough.
I don't know. I don't think the offensive production is there. But I am glad, right? Didn't bring enough, right? But coming into the season, right? Like, what's going to change is that you have this like talent. You have this talent coming in between Arabia and Conchar and all of these guys, right? So, who do you plain and simple if you had?
Z. I think just because I think we forget that Z actually did some pretty impressive stuff in the playoffs in that Warrior series. I think that he doesn't get enough credit for that, for his age and for what he was doing. I think he gets whatever was happening to him this season. I think people look at him a certain way when it was really the front office just not being really upfront about his injury. Like if we would have known what was going on, I think people would have given him a break, but I think he has more upside and he's played with some of those dudes a lot. And I just think that matters, and Roddy, I think we've got a really solid bench rotation with some of those other guys. I just think Roddy feels a lot of Z fills a lot of holes that we have in that starting five. It can be in the dunker spot like BC, there's just a lot that he can do. His mid-range is awesome. The dude, like the kid is great from mid-range. And his defense, like he was really good on defense that rookie season. And he was 18, 19 years old. At that
locking
point,
up Stephen Curry, up Stephen Curry as a rookie. Like that's not easy to do.
No, and you have 25 games to let one of these young guys get a test drive and get some experience. Like, why not let the one with the most upside go out there and get it? You know?
Yeah. You know, I mean, I agree with you, right? Like, I think especially you consider Zaire as just kind of rolling contract, right? He's coming into the third year, after which he's going to become extension eligible. If I had to put money on it, I don't think the Grizzlies are going to extend him, at least not immediately, right? Like,
they can only do one of their picks. They can either do him or Santi. You can't have two rookies on your roster with an extension, right? Isn't that the new rule?
Oh, really?
I think you can only have one guy on an extension per class, I think.
Oh,
because there was something with the Benjamin's trade where they couldn't get him off the roster because they had two guys on an extension or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But they can't extend Z and they can't extend Santi at the same time, I don't think.
Okay. Really? I mean,
I think.
I mean, just like you said, like this is do or die for Zaire, like point blank. It's do or die. Simply because like they got too much talent in the wings between Roddy and Laravia, Vince Williams, like it's do or die. Vince Williams, man, who looked great in summer league, right? Like,
I love Vince.
I love him. I wish he could be on this roster, but like he just
next season,
he'll be fine occupying the other two-way. Like, he'll be fine in that. I think his future though, sky high. But I mean, I think it's do or die, and you got to see what you have out of Zaire. That being said, so I think he'll be starting. That being said, I also think for those 25 games, that wing position, I don't think it's going to be permanent, right? Like, say Zaire comes in and he's shooting like sub 30% from three to start. You can't you can't have that when you consider the rest of this roster, right? Desmond Bane, A+, one of the best shooters in the game. Jaren Jackson Jr., another pretty good shooter, right?
Luke,
Marcus Smart,
the best 3-point shooter in the league.
Right? That's why I think Luke's coming off the bench, because you need that. You need that scoring punch. You need that off the bench. You need the quick.
Dude, Luke's gonna blow up this season. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, dude. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Six man of the year, right?
Six man of the year.
6 man of the year. Yeah, 6 man of the year. But honestly, to me, right, the key to locking down that 3 spot in the Grizzlies starting lineup is going to be whoever can shoot the 3 ball consistently the best, because outside of Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Marcus Smart, right, like, you don't really have like 3-point shooting strength. And so if Zaire comes in shooting like 25% from 3, like he was doing last season, put Laravia in, I liked Roddy for that spot, but I had to think about the height limitations. Roddy being 6'4", Desmond Bane just being a little bit taller than that. Already, guaranteed to start Marcus Smart. I think they're going to opt towards more height in that wing position. Whether that be Zaire or Laravia. So I that's why I don't think they put Roddy there, just because the height is going to be kind of a concern at that point. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going, hopefully Zaire can show an improved shooting touch, like his rookie season. I forget exactly what
did he shoot? I got those numbers.
Yeah.
In front of me. Let me pull it up. I'm
curious. But I think it's going to be who can shoot consistently the best.
Zaire shot the ball. Zaire Williams shot 30. Is this right? 31%. Yeah, it's not great. But he shot the ball 63% from 2.
Okay. And he hit really clutch threes in that
he did.
Timberwolves.
What were the playoffs? I feel like he was better in the playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's better. Like
he shot. Well, no, it's about the same. He was 75% from 3 in the playoffs. God, he's money and from 2.
Okay, word. Yeah, and I've seen him working this season. I'm not going to get into the whole Zaire summer league thing, because that's been beaten like that horse. But I mean, I've seen the videos of Zaire working this season. Think he has the right mindset. It's just a matter of, the Grizzlies have to see it on the court this season, or else like there's just simply too much other talent on this roster for it to happen. And I see in the comments here, mid-range specialist. Really,
yeah. Dude, I was going to say he's our best mid-range shot guy. That his rookie year.
I think he's absolutely mid-range specialist. You also consider he hasn't played a lot of minutes with Steven Adams. Shout out Steven Adams stats. He showed like the minutes distribution for Zaire and Steven Adams. Like it hasn't happened because of injuries, right? But I think playing next to Steven Adams will open up his game so much more. You think about Steven Adams' work as a strong screener, as a shielder. He can really allow Zaire to play his game, get comfortable in that mid range. So let me say I am eagerly waiting with anticipation, and also just some with, I don't want to say bated breath, but just like I am just kind of like, chomping my fingers a little bit, just because like it's going to be key. Like, like these first 25 games, like that position is going to be really important, because you need some sustained offensive production, because, we expect Jaren Bain to take that leap into all NBA. We expect Desmond Bain to play like continue playing like an all-star, play even better than he's already played. Expect Marcus Smart to do Marcus Smart things on both ends of the floor, especially the defensive end. Steven Adams rebounding blocks, just being that beast on the glass. But that wing spot is really going to be key in really giving the Grizzlies an offensive identity. And
so anyone but Jitty.
So anyone but Jitty, yes. Transition menace too. Shout out Gabriel, yes. Zaire in transition. Like the talent I think in terms of talent, Zaire is one of talent and potential. I think he's one of the highest ceiling prospects on this roster if everything comes together, because you think about his length, the way you can.
He's 7 foot tall, right? Like he's 7 feet.
Yeah, 7 foot tall. Yeah, 7 feet, right? He grew over the offseason. Like,
it's crazy.
There's so much to like with Zaire. It's just a matter of, you got to see it come together. But he's really going to get those 25 games, however many games, to really see that, because he's going to step into this situation, without John the starting lineup. So we'll see if he takes advantage of that opportunity. Either way, I'm excited to just kind of see how this team, I kind of mentioned that at the start of the show, how this team really reacts and how this team really transitions moving into this next phase, into this start of the season without their star player, without their superstar player in John Morant. You're going to see, I think, guys really step into their games offensively in ways they've never been before, and really step up for this team. But it's going to be really fascinating and really exciting to watch.
Yeah, man. I think that everybody on this team is aware. I think we're at that point now. Guys know what their role is, and I think they all are mature enough to do what they need to do on their end to get better. I think we got a bunch of smart hoopers on this team, and I think that they all know. I think we're real close. Yeah. And it's just so nice to see it. I think these 25 games are going to be really exciting. I'm really excited.
Yeah. I think more so just like really exciting, because there's really, like I said, I don't think there's like an expectation, right? Like there's no really kind of like, okay, they got to come out like guns blazing, be top of the West side. There's no expectations. We're going to put our best guys on the floor and see what happens. And because of that, I think guys are just going to emerge.
I think our top 10 guys, we got a real good top 10. We haven't even talked about X. We've got some
coming back on the team option.
Briefly. Yes. I don't know. We've got from guys 1 to 9 right now I would say are like really dialed in and really high basketball IQ guys. I think we're one dude away.
I agree. Love the energy I'm seeing from this team. Just love what I've heard. Love how they're shifting their focus. They're shifting their mindset, right? It's not about Jaren Jackson, right? He talked about how last season left a really bad taste in his mouth. They're shifting their mindset. They're shifting their focus into really responding to that adversity that they faced last season and really kind of bouncing back from that, right? Like seeing seeing that, yeah, I mean, you can call it a failure if you want to, but just kind of seeing what happened, not meeting those expectations of last year, and really seeing, okay, how do we respond? Like, our backs were against the wall, like, how do we respond now that we have this kind of like new team to kind of start off with this season? So gonna be,
they could have taken like a victim's mentality, like, oh, everybody hates us, no one likes us, and like they could have done that, but instead they're like, cool, we're gonna go get really good, and then we'll come back and we'll show you guys. It's just cool. It's mature, and it's funny when you get Dylan Brooks out of a locker room, the maturity that people, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, dude. Really funny, man. But yeah, I'm always going to be watching. Luke Hatmaker, thank you so much for coming on. You got anything that you want to plug for the viewers of this show coming out?
I mean, if I'm worried that I've got a front court piece dropping that has us getting rid of a player that I think is going to make an angry mob come after me. And so please be nice.
Oh, no.
I just think it's the best option. I think if you were on the other team, I just think I'm not going to spoil it, but
okay.
It was a really long piece, so I split it up into 3 parts. So
it's a business at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
it's a business at the end of the day. It's a business. It's a business. And Luke, I also want to shout you out, because for those of you in the audience who may not know, Luke Hatmaker is also, aside from being an incredibly talented writer and sports analyst, basketball analyst, he's also a very talented actor on the stage. Currently performing in a feature production. You want to tell us about that too, Luke?
Yeah, so it's an Australian playwright wrote it. It's called Things I Know to Be True. It's about 4 adult kids and their parents and the terrible year they have. Awesome. We've been ending the play and people have just been openly weeping, so it's been really fun.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to cry, come to Nashville.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All the Nashville folks, please check Luke Hatmaker out. He is truly a jack of all trades. But Luke, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Thank you so much for talking to us. We can do this all day. I mean, truly, we could do this all. Like, you guys should see our text conversations. Like, we could actually do this the entire night, not skip a beat.
The sun would just come up behind me and be like, woo.
Yeah, like we could just be here all day. If this wasn't a live broadcast. But Luke, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, brother. See you, man.
Thank you guys. Thanks. And thank all of you for hopping on to the first week of Grizz 901. No, we had a few complications there at the start, but you know what? As Grizz Company Main says, we move. We'll be back next week with a very special guest, Francis Carlotta, also part of the Bluff City Media Network, will be joining me on the show. But thank you, all of you guys, for listening, for joining. However you may have joined tonight, whether that was YouTube or Spotify or any of those other platforms. Thank you guys for listening to Grizz 901. And until then, keep on grinding.